Welcome to the Road to Redemption podcast with your host, Cam Williamson.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I'm, as always, your grateful host, Cam Williamson. It's good to be back with you today. Coming to you with a little different energy. Usually, I'm the guy that tries to uplift you, and I try to use the light to be the lesson here. Today, not gonna happen. Today we're going to talk about living the life of a broken man or a broken person. I'm a man, so I'm talking about that. I guess the reason we're specifically talking about broken men and what that looks like is because I think most of my audience at least can relate to troubled dynamics and relationships. When it comes to addiction, I think I have a lot of guys that listen to this show. And a lot of you can relate to the fact that not only would your relationships feed into your addictions, but vice versa. Your addictions also cause you to chase possible relationships that cause you to become quite broken. So, I'm obviously speaking from personal experience here. If you don't already know, I did write a book. It is my story about my love life, my addiction, my going to jail, my recovery, my military time, everything. It's in The Road to Redemption, A Journey of Chasing Love and Doing Life the Hard Way. It is available now on Amazon if you want to read that. So some of these stories or snippets of stories that I give you will have more context if you so choose to look into that. Broken men. What are some signs that you as a man or the men in your life are quite broken? What do we mean by broken? I'm not talking about physically. If they have physical ailments, that's nothing that I'm going to speak on today. We're talking about emotionally. We're talking about their heart. We're talking about, I don't believe anyone's soul is ever broken, but your soul can really have a number done on it. What does it look like to be a broken man? Well, oftentimes you get quiet. You get very unattached from everyone in your life. You start to see the world in more of a movie-esque type way because reality just doesn't quite make sense to you anymore. And that has a whole variety of scenarios in it. Usually broken men have a hard time with authority. They have a hard time having any type of boss because having another man tell them what to do is just not acceptable. When it comes to the women in their life, oftentimes broken men can be quite enticing because there's the mystery, there's the whole I think I can save him, I think I can fix him thing. Usually the passion for the lust and the desire and the heavy sexual tension is there because broken men are seeking connection, whether they know it or not. Oftentimes in males, we seek that through sex with women. And then you have the emotional side where a broken man does become quite emotional and in touch with his feelings. So let's start with the silence part. Most men, in my opinion, become broken and they start to appear more outwardly broken when they stop talking. Why is that? Most men, especially if you're like me, it's hard to get them riled up about stuff unless they're in an emotional time in life. But once you get them going, it's usually pretty artistic. What the fuck? And, you know, guys have a way of kind of making a show out of stuff. For me, I tend to use anger, which I have a lot of, and I try to turn that into humor. So, for instance, in road rage situations, I say wild shit. Do I actually want to hurt anyone? Yeah. Do I plan to get out of my car most times? No. But for men, there's a part of us that not saying things when you feel like you've been wrong just doesn't work for us. Especially if you've made yourself known over and over and over again and you continue to be misunderstood or the people that you're talking to just genuinely aren't listening to what you're saying and they're only hearing what they want to hear in that moment. Well, when that happens over a duration of time, some men it happens once and they shut down. Some women that's the same case. But usually it's over a period of time, and it's not usually just one relationship. It's they don't feel heard from childhood all the way through to the romantic relationships. They learn to be people pleasers, or maybe they didn't and they just, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm not explaining myself to anyone. I tend to be more the latter these days because of I was the opposite. I was always, I'll do whatever you want. I'll answer whenever you call. I'll be right there, like all this stuff. And you learn that you put a lot of effort into people that don't deserve it and have no intentions on actually reciprocating it. A lot of shit is just lip service and talk. And talk, especially from a good woman who knows how to do it and knows how to engage that emotional part of a man, which can be quite difficult for some of us. They use words and they use emotions and they use key phrases to get you to speak. Or sometimes it's actions, and they'll do little things that they know will bother you. So that way you're like, hey, man, what the hell? Like, what's up with that? And it may start as simple as like, hey, man, like, why are we acting like this? Or why are we doing this right now? Or something like that. And then it just becomes that whole thing about whatever. And like all these problems start coming up. And as the dude who's sitting there usually quiet, it's not that we don't know that all these problems exist. And we're not sitting here acting like, we're living this happy-go-lucky life all the time. I think most men have been broken by life to the point where at the end of every day, most guys that are over 25 to 27 years old, they just want to sit in peace and quiet at the end of the day, right? It's great to have someone there for companionship. It's great to have someone to be able to express yourself freely to. But if you can't do that, and if you never find your peace in someone where you can express yourself the way you need to express yourself to feel better, that doesn't give you a right to abuse people and scare the shit out of people and, be mean and scary towards people, right? Just because you're having a bad day. I'm not accepting these types of behaviors. But I can tell you, broken men oftentimes become shouters and yellers. I am this way. I find myself yelling a lot. You guys may be able to tell it just by the cadence in my voice when I'm talking on the show. There are some things that I'll really drive home. And I talked this way to the people in my life every single day. When I talk to you, I'm talking to you. I'm not talking around you. I'm not talking around the topic we're talking about. I'm not having another conversation that you think we're not having. I'm talking about what we're talking about. And I want to stay on this topic until this topic is resolved. What will resolve this topic? Action. If we don't agree that something that's gotten me or you so upset requires action, and that's the only thing that can change it, because apologies are one thing. But again, if you're having the same conversations over and over and over and over, well, then all you can require from someone is action. And then what? There's no words to be said. I don't need to hear how sorry you are. I don't need to hear how sorry you are that you hurt me again, or that I didn't understand properly, that you weren't saying the things that I thought you were saying or whatever. It's like, man, people do things in life and people make choices. And how that affects other people, you don't get to necessarily choose that. So if you're living in yourself every single day and you put trust and faith and you commit to someone, and then you find yourself at the end of most days going, fuck, man, I don't feel like I'm being understood. No one listens to me. No one hears me when I talk. Everyone has this agenda that they're trying to put on me, or the way they think my life should go, or the way they think I should act, or the way they think I should react to certain situations. And it's like, man, if you find yourself living outside of everyone else's expectations all the time, well, then maybe you just need to look around and realize you're in the wrong spot. Being very broken is a big light into your life to go, there's so many things wrong here. If I'm this broken and I can't have good feelings and I can't have positive emotions because life has beaten me down, And because of the way life has beaten me down and the way I've responded to that, good and bad, I've become this person who is willing to burn any bridge. I don't need anyone for anything. I don't want anything from anyone, including your time or your conversation, really. Like, life in relationships can put people to a place where a part of them does die, where you don't have the social capacity anymore to have small talk, and you don't have the social capacity to listen to people you clearly know are lying or giving you lip service just because you're in the room currently. Like, when you've been done wrong by people before, you have so many guards and walls up, and I'm not saying that's right, but sometimes people trying to just talk to you can even feel like, well, what do you want, man? What are you trying to get at? What are you trying to get around? And you have to own the responsibility in that you keep wild people around you that have put you through this kind of stuff in life, and you've accepted this type of behavior. So understand that you being aware of it doesn't necessarily make the other person guilty of it. That's important. Just because familiar feelings are coming up in something that seems like a reoccurring pattern in your life, that doesn't necessarily give you the reason to, or give you a reason to become, this is what I'm telling you now, right? Which is oftentimes what I do. Here's the problem with that, okay? People have the right to live their lives. They have the right to do what they want to do, regardless of the situation. I firmly believe that. However, people often will hear what you say, and if you say something like, if you run on that surface while it's wet, you're likely to slip and fall, and I don't know whether you're going to crack your head and die or you're just going to fall and scrape your elbow, but the likelihood of you running on that wet surface and slipping and falling and getting hurt is pretty good. And they go, Cam, I understand that you're saying slipping and falling because this surface is wet is going to probably cause me to get hurt. I hear what you're saying, I understand, and I respect that. And I go, okay, that's great. I feel good about this conversation. Hey, let me grab something to drink real quick. Oh, shit, you slipped and fell because you ran on the surface that I told you was wet, and now you're asking me for help. Hey, man. Hey, dude. What? Hey, what? Hey, what? Because that's what happens all the time when you're a very direct person who doesn't talk a lot. Because most people don't know what to do with that. Direct communication. Will you be there? Yes. Okay? There's no other if, ands, or buts around that. Can you do this? Yes. Okay? Hey, are you willing to do this thing? No, I'm not. Why? There's no explanation needed. I answered you. No. Hey, by the way, this is the way the night's going to look. Oh, okay. And I'm the type of person that whether we're being spontaneous and the night's open and it's free, we can do whatever. Great. I want to know that. Because then I want the freedom to be able to move and shake and surprise and do whatever. Where if it's very important to you or me, that, and I'm not good at that either, to be like, this is important to me, that for tonight, we have a reservation at 7:30. So that means I would really appreciate it if, like, by 7, you're showing the enthusiasm about this, that you're ready to go, and you've already probably made, like, a special something to show your enthusiasm about the situation, right? When you're a guy, and especially when you're young, grand gestures and surprises and dates and jewelry and all these things, they mean a lot to the guy too, because it's like, look what I was able to provide for you. Now you should know your woman and you should know what she cares about and what she doesn't. But at the same token, then things become very much about, I show you love materialistically or through grand gestures or things like that. And it becomes very hard to maintain that, especially if finances or life just starts to bog you down. And you don't necessarily feel as lovey and romantic, and you don't have the energy to go get dressed up or make a reservation or go out because the kids have been driving everyone crazy all weekend. It's like, sometimes the best thing you can do when you are a broken person trying to make life work is you have to realize, man, you need rest. You need rest. If life, by your own scale of choosing has been extremely rough on you, and you're getting to a point where you can't trust anyone, you don't have conversations that you would like to have, you're really just trying to figure out how to get back to you in the most healthy and happy way that is, especially if you have kids, man, nothing else in the world can matter. So you have to go into whatever place you go to. For me, it's often just being alone anymore. It's being able to sit where I'm not having to explain myself, and I don't have to tell anyone my next move or my last move, or I don't have to be responsible for someone else's reaction to what I'm doing. Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent to them, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent to me, I've gotten myself to a place in life where I don't need anything from anyone. I don't want anything from anyone. I sincerely want to be left alone outside of being around my kids. And life has gotten me to a point where, broken or not, I am happiest when I'm able, and I'm with my health lately, the only time I'm able to eat, sleep, breathe normally is when I'm alone or just me and my kid hanging out. And I'm not explaining my life or my thoughts or anything. That's what keeps me out of my head, is I don't have people around going, hey, you all right? Hey, what's going on? Hey, what are you thinking about? Because then when I start and I'm like, man, this fucking really bothers me. And it's like, whoa, hey. And you're like, all right, man, never mind. Fucking never mind. Because like this obviously isn't the dynamic I thought it was. And then you have to talk about that if you care. If you care, you have to go, listen, man, I'm not trying to yell at you. I'm not trying to scream at you. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm not trying to whatever. But like, fuck, I don't need this right now. And like that person should know enough about you to be like, this has got nothing to do with me. Now, is their behavior acceptable? No, and we can talk about that later. But like right now, is digging my heels in and trying to get the reassurance I need right now, like, is that the best way to love them? I really don't know. Sometimes it might be. Sometimes it's not. I really don't know. I think it's very situational. I think it comes down to each person knowing who you're involved with, right? Ask yourself those questions. I've got my dogs going nuts. I got to go see what's going on. Thumbs up the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.